Welcome to the Classic Soap Operas podcast. Okay, so today we're diving into a soap opera that basically took the rule book and just tossed it right out the window. Forget everything you think you know about domestic drama. This show was all about death, deception, and some serious high-stakes crime.
So, when you think about the typical fan base for a soap opera, who comes to mind? Do you picture legendary actresses like, say, Bette Davis? Or how about a former First Lady like Eleanor Roosevelt? Or, and this one's great, famed humorist Sir P.G. Wodehouse? Yeah, probably not, right? But guess what? They were all huge fans of this show. Even the mystery writers of America couldn't get enough. I mean, that list alone tells you everything. This was not your average daytime serial.
So, what was this show that had such a wild and, let's be honest, kind of highbrow audience? And how on earth did a daytime drama, a genre that's usually all about romance and family sagas, end up being a gritty crime procedural? Well, the story starts with another very famous crime solver.
Section 1, A Daytime Perry Mason. The subtitle here is A Story Born from a Disagreement. And yeah, that's putting it mildly.
You know, the original idea seemed like a total slam dunk. Just take Perry Mason, a character who was already a massive sensation in books and on the radio, and launch a daytime TV series on CBS. They even had his creator, Earl Stanley Gardner, signed on to write it. I mean, it looked like a guaranteed hit, right? Well, there was one pretty big problem. The execs at CBS were totally convinced that a daytime audience needed romance, so they insisted that the famously single Perry Mason had to have a love interest. Gardner was having none of it. He absolutely refused, arguing it would completely ruin the character. So he walked. And just like that, the whole project fell apart, leaving this giant hole in the schedule. And stepping right into that hole, the edge of night. What's so fascinating here is how it lays out the show's entire DNA. I mean, look at this. While every other soap was set in living rooms and hospitals, all about love and family drama and aimed squarely at a female audience, The Edge of Night was all about crime. It was set in courtrooms, police stations. Its hero was a crime-fighting lawyer. And because of that, it ended up attracting this huge male audience. It was literally the anti-soap opera.
Next up, an unlikely hit show, subtitled Crime Pays in the Daytime. And oh boy, did it ever. The show was an absolute sensation right out of the gate. I mean, instead of taking years to build an audience, it pulled in a staggering 9 million viewers in its very first year. Can you believe that? It was such a clear sign that people were just hungry for something different in the afternoon.
And this really shows you just how different that audience was. At its peak in the 1960s, the viewership for The Edge of Night was about 50% male. 50%! That was completely unheard of for a daytime drama. It made the show this unique, absolute powerhouse. But this wasn't just some popular show. It was a seriously respected crime drama. And the ultimate proof of that? It came in 1980 when the Mystery Writers of America honored it with a special Edgar Award. That's like the Oscar for mystery writers. It totally cemented its reputation for top-notch storytelling. All right, let's talk stars and storylines, or as it says here, the mean streets of Monticello. The show's fictional city was the backdrop for some of the darkest stories on daytime TV, and it also just so happened to be a launchpad for some of Hollywood's biggest future stars. I mean, the list of actors who came through Monticello is just mind-blowing. For instance, here we have a super young John Travolta getting one of his first big breaks. And then there was a future Oscar winner Julianne Moore, just honing her craft on the daytime stage way before she was a household name. And decades before she moved to Wisteria Lane, Marcia Cross was already wrapped up in these intense mysteries right here on The Edge of Night. And the list just keeps on going. Kate Capshaw, Scott Glenn, Bebe Neuwirth, it's really incredible. The show was this magnet for amazing talent, giving dozens of future stars their first shot. And wow, those actors were given some intense material to work with. I mean, take this classic storyline. A little girl witnesses her own mother being stabbed. The trauma is so bad she completely loses her ability to speak. When she finally breaks her silence, those are her first words as she relives that absolute horror. Yeah, this was definitely not your grandmother's soap opera. Okay, next up, the network switch. Subtitle, A Battle for Survival. Because despite all its success, the show's unique formula would eventually lead to this dramatic, behind-the-scenes fight for its very existence. So here's how it all went down. In 1972, CBS moves the show to an earlier time slot. Big mistake. It totally cut off its huge male and teenage audience, and the ratings just plummeted. So by 1975, CBS cancels it. But then, something happens that had never happened before. The show is rescued by a rival network, ABC. It became the first soap opera in history to switch networks mid-run. It was this incredible second chance. But after another 9 years, and with fewer and fewer local stations carrying it, the show finally aired its last episode in 1984. But The Edge of Night wasn't about to go out with some quiet, sentimental goodbye. Oh no, it was going to end exactly how it had lived, as a mystery. This brings us to An Ending Without End, the ultimate cliffhanger. So the writers knew the show was ending for good, and instead of trying to wrap everything up in a neat little bow, they decided to just lean into the show's identity one last time. They actually crafted a final cliffhanger that they had absolutely zero intention of ever solving. Okay, so picture this. You're a loyal viewer. You're watching the final moments ever. A character finds a woman who's been viciously stabbed. She's bleeding out, and with her dying breath, she whispers this bizarre, cryptic line. Off with her head. And that was it. The credits rolled. The killer was never revealed. We never found out what her last words meant. After 28 years and almost 7,500 episodes, the show just stopped. It left its audience with one last permanent mystery. It's just such a bold and fascinating legacy, isn't it? In our current era, where it feels like every old show is getting a reboot or revival, The Edge of Night's final act really makes you wonder, did its creators leave behind the one story that, by its very design, can never, ever truly be finished?